I want to welcome everyone to today's webinar on how digital transformation solutions accelerate the business of higher education. Over the next hour, we're going to be reviewing how VISUALVAULT helps colleges and universities harness this technology to achieve institutional efficiency and responsiveness. At the end, we're going to take some questions in the time we have left. If you'd like to submit a question, just go to the questions tab on the screen and enter it. During today's session, we're going to be hearing from a number of people with significant expertise and experience in higher education. Jennifer Sherman is the Assistant Director for Academic and Faculty Affairs at the Department of Surgery at Columbia University, one of the most prominent research universities in the country. Dan Miller is the AVP of EDGEMARKET at EDGE, one of our strategic partners. And Jonathan Abrahamian is a Senior Account Executive at GRM. I'm Larry Reynolds, VP of Sales for GRM. I'll start by giving you a little bit of background on GRM and who we are. We've been in business since 1980. In that time, we've had significant growth, both in terms of our customer base as well as geographically. As you can see on the map there, we have operations in 16 cities across the US, as well as locations in international markets. So our footprint's fairly extensive. We have a large client base, over 7,500 organizations in a wide array of industry segments, but higher education is definitely one of our key target markets. GRM's headquartered in the New York, New Jersey area, and our VISUALVAULT headquarters and development center is in Tempe, Arizona. Additionally, each GRM office that you see there has a record storage center as well as a high production imaging center as we scan into millions of pages every month. But today we're going to be discussing our content services application, VISUALVAULT. Although higher education is a key market for GRM, here you see the depth and breadth of penetration that we have in a number of industries. You know, healthcare is a very strategic market for us. We have some of the largest hospital groups, clinics, physician groups in the country. We've had very significant success in the public sector market with cities, municipalities, county governments, state governments, as well as entree into some of the federal marketplace. Financial services is a big market, and certainly higher education. There you see NYU, UCLA, USC, and certainly Columbia University, as well as a number of others. So we've had success in a number of markets that are very similar to higher education in terms of they all require a very high level of security, confidentiality, and compliance. Before we move into our higher education discussion, I want to give you a quick overview of some of the functionality that's available at VISUALVAULT. That's the content services application used by all the customers you just saw on the previous screen. VISUALVAULT, from an architecture perspective, is a business platform. And what that means is it's a combination of ECM, of business services, of content services, and compliance. And that's really what we envision a modern content platform to be. It's also one of the very few ECM applications that was designed and architected from the ground up to be a cloud-based solution, which provides a lot of inherent efficiencies and integration capabilities. I won't go into detail on all the technology that we provide, but you see we have a very strong advanced capture capability on the front end. We have a document analysis engine, which incorporates a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning to drive the automation of business processes. I'll talk a little bit about intelligent forms and workflow on the next couple of screens, and then you see analytics there as well. But I think what the important thing is technology is not relevant unless it really improves your situation. So what we really do with all this technology is VISUALVAULT automates your processes. It manages all your important business content in one secure location, and then it integrates with your other operational systems to deliver this information whenever and wherever you need it. Then once you have all your information under control, you have that visibility into the status of processes, documents, and information through management dashboards, analytics dashboards, and also supporting retention requirements. Today's session is going to highlight some really unique applications of our intelligent forms automation, or iForms. Our customers use iForms to electronically collect information and then automate the validation, the processing, the review, and the exchange of all their documents and information. Built on a robust, scalable, and secure platform, our iForms automation is an enterprise-level solution designed for very fast deployment, simple yet powerful form design, and automation of both internal as well as customer facing forms-driven applications. Then really the heart of an ECM solution like VISUALVAULT is its workflow management and process automation functionality, which really delivers the business efficiencies that colleges and universities require. You know, every college and university that we work with relies on processes to get work done, and they depend on the efficient running of those processes to get their work done on time, on budget, and with as little disruption as possible. For example, think about your hiring process, having your candidates electronically be able to fill out applications, having those applications automatically flow through a structured review and approval process. And if further information is requested, gathering that supporting documentation, things like resumes, W-4 forms, credit information, driver's licenses, background checks, and so forth, all driven by a workflow engine that automatically moves to the next step once all the required documentation has been received. Then think about having this kind of power spread across your other departments, admissions office, your academic department, student services, administration. So what that really comes down to is allowing your high-value workers to concentrate on high-value tasks. In working with a lot of our college and university customers across the country, we've seen a number of very common requirements. First of all, as you know, they're all moving in the direction of paperless processing with the goal of automating all their business processes. They all need scalability, which is the ability to seamlessly move from one department to another on an as-needed basis. They're definitely all in some form of digital transformation with various departments and functional areas at different points on that migration path. Most of them are very interested in the cost savings and productivity gains that can be realized with advanced technology. And then finally, integration with all the operational systems in place, things like Banner or an HRIS or finance and accounting applications. I think the important takeaway, though, is that GRM and VISUALVAULT can address all these requirements, and we do it across the entire campus. Many of our customers are looking to accelerate their admissions processing. They want to automate employee onboarding, create a faculty management record standard, streamline processing for donors, transform their financial aid processing and disbursement, and many other aspects of digital transformation. So what we offer is VISUALVAULT provides departments and entire campuses with the flexibility to adapt to their work processes and their changing conditions. So I'll turn it over now to Jonathan, and he's going to discuss Columbia University and how they utilize this solution. Jonathan?
You know, Jennifer is with Columbia. She was nice enough to join us. And GRM works with Columbia as an entire entity. One of the things that's most common with not only universities, but all businesses, is when folks have just cabinets full of paper taking up valuable real estate that can be better off suited to other purposes, their first inclination is usually, hey, I want to scan everything. Well, if we were just a scanning company, we would say, hey, okay, sure, no problem, let's scan your paper. But a lot of times that's more of a luxury than a necessity to have. And when you start asking and probing into the documents, you could sort of come up with a strategy that will utilize various services of GRM to pick and choose what makes sense for the client in terms of a customized approach. So you can create different different silos of records. So you have inactive, you have active enough that maybe you need to keep for legal and compliancy reasons, but you may not look at. And then you have documents that are valuable enough to go through the scanning process. The question that I always get is, do we need to scan everything now? And a lot of the times it really depends on the actual use case. With the Department of Surgery that Jennifer's with at Columbia, she works with the HR side. So the relationship actually started with the clinical side of the department because Columbia is an academic medical center. And with the clinical files, we actually physically store those older paper records in our record center. But with the HR side, when Jennifer's team approached us about their needs, we said, sure, we can scan the documents for you, but we want to make sure that going forward, you're not in this same predicament as you are a year from now, 2 years from now. So the idea was to not only scan the relevant paperwork, but really use VISUALVAULT to drive paper out of the business process. And how did we do that? Well, we had extensive discussions with the department about their records. Now, the department has many different divisions within it, and there's many different employee types. So in essence, what we decided to do with the department's collaboration was to really create not only a document library with root folders for each employee type for the active employees, and then create another folder for terminated employees, but utilizing iForms, we can create an employee form from the front end of the process to store all the employee data. And we would use a unique identifier, which in Columbia's case is called the UNI, or the University ID, whereby we can accept data files from their HRIS system that would automatically update and move active employees to termed employees, for example, or update any changes in a position, and so on and so forth. So upon receipt of this data file, VISUALVAULT can automatically compare current employee data, update the indexes if they've changed, and have the new current status available to the group. This is helpful because it creates that employee folder with specific subsections based on their approved templates. Automatically, the value of all employee-related indexes match the employee data out of the HRIS system so that the two link up automatically. What's also unique that also helps drive paper out of the business process is a lot of times, specifically with human resources groups, there is a need to manage the incoming paperwork, for example, for onboarding new employees. So for example, your W-9s, your maybe a letter of references, so on and so forth. So what we're able to do with groups, again, to drive the paper out of the process, is when a new employee needs to be onboarding, we create a checklist, so to speak, which is a visualization that allows administrators to monitor all the required paperwork coming in. Once all the documents are uploaded for a specific employee in this case, that employee will drop off of the list. So it's a nice visual way to manage and monitor sort of the paper that's coming in without having to constantly check emails and set reminders that you're waiting on certain documentation. So, in essence, we were presented with an issue, which was we have all these filing cabinets, we don't know what to do with them. Maybe just scanning them, as Jennifer pointed out, maybe just scanning them would work. But when you really dug into it, scanning is one thing, but driving the paper out on a go-forward basis is another. So with GRM, just to touch back onto my original point, is that you don't have to necessarily do one thing. You can physically store documents that you need to keep for legal and compliancy reasons, but it may not make sense to go through a conversion process. We can scan the documents that you need to keep that are more active and that you'll probably look at again, and then come up with a go-forward plan of how you can get yourself out of the pickle of creating more paper going forward. So I guess in closing for this specific example, we utilize GRM's VISUALVAULT iForms to create new employee data files. We're able to receive data files that can automatically update any sort of changes with the employee. And then on a go-forward basis, manage the process in a paperless environment whereby things could be digital from the beginning rather than creating new paper and ultimately scanning those documents into the system.
So I think one of the best thing that happened was I had come from the practice side, so I knew about GRM's capabilities with the scanning capacity. And then when I spoke to Jonathan and he let me know that there were these other options to expand what we were doing, we really looked at these file cabinets that had historical 30 years worth of faculty files and staff files, and came up with like a little bit of a phased plan for ourselves so that we didn't overwhelm ourselves with what we were doing. And we decided to do it in a few little phases, with the first step being to scan the historical files, because there were so many of them and there were so many things that were from predecessors that were out of order and they were just disorganized. And GRM was able to take all of those documents, all of those boxes out of our cabinets and scan them. And we created a historical HR PDF file. And we filed that away in the master electronic file of that employee or that faculty member. And then going forward from that point in time, 5 years ago to now, we were able to create subfolders. So in concept, if you were to open Jennifer Sherman's HR file, it would be tabbed in the drawer in sections. We did exactly that in the digital side. We decided what were our pertinent documents and sections that needed to be separated out. And now, as we have those documents, we are able to then just file them into the employee or the faculty member's electronic record in GRM. And we are at the point, to the pandemic, with all the ever-changing electronic processes at the school, we're at the next phase now where we're going to incorporate in what's electronic at the university, what's paper-based still in the office, and come up with our next phase, which is launching the electronic process so that the employees and the new hires aren't filling out any paperwork at all. And it's worked very seamlessly. It's been an excellent experience building this with Jonathan the past few years. It's like our dream come true.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. And I wanted to add, folks, that with VISUALVAULT, the beauty of the system is that it could be deployed rather rapidly. So because there's no real IT resources needed on your end, because it's a cloud-based solution, if we have a partner in a client like Jennifer was, who can be there with us on the setup and the initial administration of the site, things can move rather rapidly. So one of the unique features about GRM is the ability to move at your pace. So there is no lengthy time for implementation. It can be set up, again, quite quickly. And to Jennifer's point, especially today, with everyone working either remotely or in a hybrid environment, if you had paper in your cabinet, gone is the issue of having to send someone to the office, especially, in a major city like New York, for example, and having to just go and pull a file. So, we thankfully implemented this solution way before COVID, and that sort of gave the department a leg up in where they needed to be, because as COVID came, more and more departments were saying, hey, you need to be able to access our critical documents from wherever we reside, whether we're working from home or we're in another state, but we need the ability to look up information quickly, safely, and just have that information at our fingertips. And we are able to crawl, walk, run with groups. So we can start off, with a simple scanning process where we create that historical record in VISUALVAULT, and then move into other processes where we can help automate different functions. So I think Jennifer hit it right on the head when she was describing the solution that we implemented for her group.
And it actually, to your point, it came at the perfect time, because once the pandemic came and the campus was closed and we were no longer permitted on site, we were the only department here that did not have to worry about accessing our files. We were able to just continue business as usual from wherever we all were. And I had immediate access to all my faculty files, promotions. We have postdocs on visas. Everything I needed was at my fingertips right from my house, because we had already launched this and it was all set and working. And pandemic came and we went home and we were continuing to work.
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you, Jennifer and Jonathan. Knowing that colleges and universities have some very, very strict requirements for acquiring software and services, we invited Dan Miller of EDGE to discuss how they can streamline that process. EDGE provides that public procurement contract vehicle so their members can avoid the RFP process. So, Dan?
Thank you very much, Larry and Jonathan and Jennifer. It's a pleasure to join you as well. And folks, thank you for joining. I'm Dan Miller. I'm the Associate Vice President of EDGEMARKET, working in an organization called NJEDGE.net Inc. Little history behind NJ Edge. It's about a 20-year-old, 21-year-old firm. It was established by the legislature of the state of New Jersey as a 501c3 research and education services corporation, and the mission was to provide enabling technology and unifying access to the then nascent internet. That is something that EDGE has done on a world-class basis, a very high-performance optical fiber regional network that's in New Jersey, but also growing, extending in the regional area. We provide a lot of solutions for our members in the areas of cybersecurity and online learning and ed tech support services, certainly digital transformation, support services and managed services and cloud migration, et cetera, a wide variety of things. Included in the mission and in the foundation of EDGE as a research and education services corporation is that we do serve as, and have for quite a long time, as a lead agency for our member institutions, which include all of the higher education institutions in the state of New Jersey. And about 3 years ago, we were designated as a cooperative pricing system for higher education, K-12, for local government authorities and healthcare organizations, not just in the state of New Jersey, but accessible nationally. So EDGE, which is our kind of our friendly name of NJEDGE.net Inc., owns and operates this EDGEMARKET cooperative pricing system that my team and I are able to manage. Our mission inside of EDGEMARKET is to conduct public procurements that lead to the creation of master contract vehicles to allow our members to gain easy access to solutions across a spectrum of areas from technology, software, services, et cetera, and to really provide an easy way to get to those contract vehicles. And GRM is a recent awardee. A while ago, we decided to conduct a procurement for a enterprise content management solution, which embodied many of the things that Larry, Jonathan, and Jennifer have talked about, and we'll explore more deeply in the Q&A session. We have a broad spectrum of members, ranging from Rutgers University at the very large and massive end to very small institutions, private and public and 2-year, et cetera, and with the co-op K-12 and municipalities, et cetera. So we were looking for a comprehensive, multi-dimensional, multi-market enterprise content management solution. Our member organizations are complex. Columbia University, very complex organization. As Jennifer has shared, our organizations are of the same nature, multiple departments, divisions within departments, different roles, different things that had to be served. And so we were looking for a solution that would be easy for our members to begin to integrate and adopt in the areas that they currently have a problem, pain, or opportunity. And so there's a chart, that grid that we have in this slide. The first column, the leftmost column, would be the types of solution components that are built upon the GRM VISUALVAULT platform and the other services that GRM provides. And then you can see the names of some of the departments and functions going across, just a handful. And we know, and from our conversations, that virtually any department in any organization could take advantage of any of the componentry of the GRM overall platform solution, especially VISUALVAULT. We at Edge are actually a client. We are using the VISUALVAULT platform. We're early stage. We intend to do more with it. So one of the great powers of and advantages of the GRM solution and the contract that we crafted is it's very easy to get to the solution. It's very easy, and as Jonathan alluded to and Jennifer affirmed, to have great conversation with the experts at GRM to identify where would be the most valuable deployment, the initial deployment of the GRM solution to serve your needs, and then what is the path to grow within your department as you go over time, and how can we then support the rest of the organization as they become aware of the solution and the opportunity to solve those problems or to create new opportunities. So we have found a great partner in GRM. We think that the team is outstanding. The technology is, we think, unparalleled. We'll often in our procurements do multi-awards. We did a singular award in the category that GRM was successful in and are happy to have done so. So our role is to create the path to procuring the GRM solution for our members. And our members, by the way, are beyond New Jersey. They range from the University of Oregon in the Northwest down to Florida A&M University in the Southeast. And we have a number of other growing number of institutions around the country. So we're happy to be here. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of it.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Well, we do have some time for questions, and that's good because we have quite a few questions. I'll start with one that's come in for Jennifer. And Jennifer, the question is, what prompted you in Columbia to begin this journey? And what specifically pushed you over the fence that you realized you needed to actually do something?
So about 6 years ago, I was working as a practice administrator on the clinical side. That's how I knew what the GRM scanning capabilities were, because our patient files were archived and stored through GRM. And then I accepted a position in department administration where I am now. And when I came to this office, I had some chest pains the very first day, because when I got here, the file cabinets were just bursting at the seams with all of this historical paper. And we have some surgeons in our department and research faculty members who have been here 25 to 30 years. And those paper files, some of them for 1 or 2 physicians, were taking up an entire row in a file cabinet. And it was just completely chaotic the way the files had been stored. I'm very a neat and orderly person, so I like to see things in the order they need to be worked in. So I couldn't comprehend in the beginning why the files were like that. And as I looked into our workflow, I realized that there were different transactions that we do in the department, whether it's a hiring transaction or a faculty reappointment or a title change. And there's paperwork that's very separate and different that's attached to each of those transactions. But to open the file cabinet in the folder, you weren't able to find, let's say, the promotion for Larry or the salary increase for Dan. It was just an abyss of stuff. And so first thing first, Jonathan and I met, and the first decision was to immediately scan these historical files and get them out of the drawers. Because what was happening in whether it was salary negotiations or promotional opportunities, we needed to go back into the file to find the last raise for someone or the last promotion package. And we literally couldn't find them in the way the files had been. So we decided it was going to be too complicated to sort 30 years worth of files individually. So we made a decision with Jonathan just to scan them and create a historical PDF. Basically, everything that happened up until that point was going to get filed away in a giant PDF. And then going forward, Jonathan and I worked very closely to develop what system worked best for us. How did we want our folders to appear? What were our relevant sections? And we basically tabbed them up. And going forward, we were then able to file the current transaction. So if you open someone's file today, you'll find the historical file in the historical folder. And then all the other transactions that we've done on that person the past 6 years, those documents are right at our fingertips. We really needed to get to a place quickly where we were able to move forward and not continue to file documents into the chaos. We needed to draw that fine line and break the historical mess from the current situation. And that's exactly what Jonathan did for us. Within a very brief period of time, after we decided how to operationalize our sections, the files were removed, they were scanned quickly, they were labeled in the historical folders, and then we had this beautiful, fresh opportunity to take all the current things that we were working on and file them away properly. So if the CFO is at home during the pandemic and he wants to see all the historical salary changes for Larry Reynolds the past 6 years, they're right there in the payroll and compensation folder. He doesn't have to dig through an entire drawer of paper to find that paperwork. It's right there, it's PDF. We don't keep any paperwork in the office. Once we hire someone, once we promote someone, and we have our PDF files, they are immediately filed. And that we like I said, we have very few, I have a few things on my desk today. We have very few papers at this point. We're able to assemble our PDFs when we're hiring someone, and there's work that we do within the office that we're able to PDF as we're going along. And then that information can be put into the GRM folder in multiple ways. We can put it in a section in GRM that's designated to file, or I can manually just drag it and drop it into the folder where I see fit if I want to just very quickly send it over. But even the turnaround with GRM, if we ask them to file something, it's filed. So it's a great system for us. It's like having an extra team member, because we know we can rely on them and Jonathan's team to take our information, update it constantly, and have the stuff filed appropriately.
Thank you very much.
Does that answer the question?
I think it did. And actually, your response is a good segue into another question. It has to do with HRIS integration that I can respond to. The question is, are some HRIS applications more difficult to integrate with than others? And certainly some are easier than others, but VISUALVAULT has an extensive network of APIs. We also have low code or no code integration capability. And what that does is allows us to integrate very easily with virtually any HRIS or other operational system. Give you some examples. We've integrated with ADP, with SAP, Oracle, Workday, Bamboo HR, and a number of others. So we really haven't seen any HRIS that we couldn't integrate with. This is one I believe Dan may want to comment on, and I certainly can as well. The question, Dan, is what other departments in a college or university and specific areas in those institutions could benefit from GRM's platform?
Well, I think the question could be what department couldn't. You think about facilities and the request for repairs or kind of anything. Fundamentally, any department that deals with people, deals with paper, deals with forms, deals with requests, deals with data, I think is a great candidate for looking at the GRM solution. One of the nice things that I don't think came up, and maybe Larry or Jonathan can touch on it, maybe Jennifer's got some experience with it, is the very interesting dimension of the solution where as you tag and organize and index the documents within VISUALVAULT, those can be accessible with a click to an appropriate record inside other applications that you might use. So one of the things that is intriguing to us at Edge, but also strategically as an element of the solution, an attribute of the solution platform, is for as an enterprise content management with emphasis on enterprise across the spectrum of an organization. It could be the single sole authoritative repository of artifacts, documents, and other things that can then be accessed in a contextually relevant way for an employee, for example. The HR application, click on that employee, and it can have access to all of the relevant documents that are stored inside VISUALVAULT, not inside that particular application or in something else. So it's a great unifying platform as it relates to access to content from multiple other places. And it's has great organizing principles to standardize how we think about paper, how we process forms, how we do workflows. And I think one of the beauties of it, and you'd be thinking I work for GRM, I don't, but I'm an advocate for our members for great solutions to make their jobs, their lives, their operations easier and cost less and have less risk. Once you do it in one department, the principles are the same. And Jennifer, I think, can speak to this. So much easier to port that knowledge and accelerate to the solution as you go to other departments and other particular business needs within those departments.
Absolutely. Real briefly, we met just last week with one of our counter departments here at the university who heard, you know, how happy we are with the way GRM has been working for us. And they had initially started it, but then they kind of fell off. They got distracted by other things and the pandemic came and they just didn't get to it. And we gave them a run through and we showed them the other day how we divided up our work. And now they're going to mimic that workflow and they're going to tweak it a little bit differently to work for their department because our work needs and theirs are similar, but a little different. And now they're going to have Jonathan customize it to their needs. And, you know, we were glad to show them an example of our files and how we determined what we needed and how we operationalized it with Jonathan.
Thank you, Jennifer, Dan. And to add to what they said real quickly, it's all about automating processes. And, you know, if you look at some of the areas that we've had success with in colleges and universities, things like, you know, admissions processing, accelerating that whole process of admissions. Certainly, we've talked about automated employee onboarding, but you know, a faculty records management system, donor processing for fundraising is a huge area for us. Financial aid, you know, that transforming that processing, transforming the disbursement of those funds. So really, like Dan said, any area can benefit from this. Another question we have is, what's the advantages of a cloud-based application over an on-premise system? I could spend the rest of our time talking about this, but there's numerous advantages. I'll start with the fact that it's a subscription model. So it's a monthly operating cost rather than a very high upfront capital expenditure. I think probably one of the most important things is the infinite scalability. You know, you can add users, you can add departments, you can add applications really infinitely. You know, there's no internal technical support required on your part. You know, all the support, all the maintenance, all the enhancements, all the updates are handled by GRM as the vendor. So you don't have to do any hardware upgrades. You have no storage upgrades. You don't have any annual maintenance fees. Another important area is enhanced security. We have a very robust technology infrastructure. So we have replicated data, fault tolerance, reliability, and redundance, 99.99% uptime, which is more than any IT department can guarantee. And then the last thing I would mention is it's a very, very quick deployment. It's weeks rather than months and sometimes years in some cases with on-premise applications. Here's a real easy question. Will the recording for this session be available? And yes, we're going to make this available to everyone that attended today. All right, I believe that's the last question we have. I don't see any more coming in. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank all of our panelists and everyone have a great afternoon.